I knew before he arrived. The underworld reads the living world the way a physician reads a body, not through what is said, but through what cannot be hidden. The dead carry the texture of the world they left. A farmer arrives with soil under his fingernails and confusion in his eyes that has nothing to do with his own death. A shepherd carries the memory of grass retreating from green, tip by tip, as though the earth were pulling something valuable back inside itself. An old woman from the coast arrives, knowing the pattern had broken before she did. Absence is louder than presence. Demeter was withdrawing, not by decision. That distinction matters. She does not strategize. She responds. What she felt, the world expressed. Without the layer of calculation the rest of the Olympians maintain between interior and action. Her grief was real. Her withdrawal was the grief finding its only available language. She was not punishing the world. She was simply no longer present enough to sustain it. And the world, which had organized everything around her presence, began showing the deficit the way a body shows the deficit of something essential. Quietly, from the edges first. Above, Olympus had gone still, not the stillness of peace, the stillness of a mind working under pressure, of a situation not yet named, because naming it prematurely would constrain the options. Someone at the center of Olympus had already decided. He was only deciding when. Zeus is most dangerous when he is most quiet. He called the council on the fourth day. I was not invited. That too was information. You exclude a king from a council about his own kingdom, so that the conclusions carry the weight of Olympian consensus rather than the residue of his participation. I was excluded so the result would not require my agreement. I noted this and reconstructed the council from what the dead carried down afterward. The chamber was not loud. Zeus in a formal council does not raise his voice. He understands that volume signals effort, and effort signals uncertainty. He speaks quietly, leans slightly forward, gives every god in the room the experience of being reasoned with rather than directed. He is very good at this. He said that Persephone had been taken. That word, taken, is not descriptive. It is political. It requires an agent, something that acts, and it positions Persephone precisely where she needs to be. Not a god who exercised her own judgment, not a being who assessed her circumstances and made a deliberate choice, but an object that had been moved. One word, and her will was excised from the event entirely. She did not go. She did not choose. She was taken. Control does not shout. It calculates. Because the alternative, she chose, is structurally catastrophic. Not emotionally, structurally. If Persephone chose, Olympus must ask why. And why lead somewhere Zeus cannot afford to go? She left because the surface did not hold her. She descended because what she found below offered something above could not. She moved with the confidence of a god who believed she had that right. If that story stands, every god on Olympus eventually thinks the thought that follows. She was allowed to choose. Am I? Open that question, and it does not close easily. So Zeus replaced it. Not, why did she leave? But who took her? The second question has an answer that reinforces the structure. The first question undermines it. Demeter's grief, formless until that moment, received direction. Grief with direction is not suffering. It is force. Zeus gave her pain a shape that served him, and the pain became momentum, and the momentum moved exactly where he required. Athena was in that room. I keep returning to this. She heard taken the way I heard it, felt the architecture of it, registered the gap between the word and the truth. She said nothing. I have decided this means she is playing a longer game than the present moment requires her to commit to. She files, she waits. She will act when acting produces maximum effect. She is her father's patience without, I suspect, his blind spot. Poseidon watched with the hungry attention he brings to anything that might shift weight at the top. He is not foolish. He noticed what Athena noticed. He is simply less interested in truth than in leverage. He filed what he observed not under injustice, but under opportunity. The lie solidified. It acquired the weight of official divine consensus, and official divine consensus, once it achieves critical mass, becomes indistinguishable from fact for everyone who wasn't present at its construction. The story had been written. I had not yet been formally cast, but I could feel the role taking shape around me, the way cold takes shape around something standing in open air. Hermes arrived the following morning. He came correctly, through the proper entrance, with the formal bearing that a diplomatic visit to a sovereign realm requires. He carried his caduceus. His expression was apposed. He delivered the message from Zeus in language that was measured, official, stripped of anything that could be named as accusation. Persephone had been taken. Zeus expected her return. The phrasing was almost generous. It left room for compliance, room for a response that could be framed as cooperation rather than capitulation. There would be arrangements, almost certainly, provisions, the appearance of resolution. I would be the violation that had been corrected, not a flattering role, but a survivable one. Zeus would demonstrate his authority extended to every realm, order would be restored, and the story would settle into the official record. All I had to do was accept the word taken. Zeus does not destroy what he can rewrite. I understood the offer. I also understood that accepting it meant accepting a lie about a god who had walked into my kingdom with open eyes and a made decision, reducing her from someone who had chosen to someone who had been taken, and that I was not willing to do, not because the refusal was without cost, but because some things, once conceded, cannot be unconceded. The frame you accept becomes the frame you inhabit. Permanently. I said nothing. And then Hermes moved. He did not announce it. He did not ask. He simply stepped forward, past the entrance hall, past the threshold, toward the river Styx, with the purposefulness of a god executing a task granted by an authority he believed extended everywhere, including here, including into the sovereign kingdom of the king who had not yet complied. The river knew before I spoke. The Styx does not think, but it has memory and response, and in the moment Hermes' foot moved toward its bank, the current slowed, not stopped, slowed, the way a great animal stills when something approaches that it has not yet decided how to treat. The dead along the far bank went silent, not commanded, simply silent, the way all things go silent when something unprecedented arrives. The air thickened. I let it sit for 3 full seconds. That river, I said, is the border of my sovereignty. My voice was quiet. It is always quiet here. Hermes stopped. He turned with the expression of a diplomat trained for exactly this moment. Controlled, present, neither retreating nor escalating. He was very good, I noted that. Zeus expects her return, he said. The same words as before. But we both understood he was no longer delivering a message. He was telling me the message was not a question. I looked at him for a long moment. Zeus, I said, is not accustomed to waiting. No, Hermes agreed. He is not. Then this will be useful for him. The silence after that was considerable. Hermes is not a god who misses the weight of an exchange, and he understood that something had shifted. He had come to deliver a position. He had received, in return, not a counter-position, but a refusal to stand inside the frame the position required. I had not denied the accusation. I had not confirmed it. I had declined to participate in the structure entirely. He held his ground a moment longer than was comfortable. Then he nodded, not deeply, and left. I watched until he was gone. Then I turned back to the river, which had resumed its pace. The dead had resumed their movement. My kingdom was exactly as it had been before he arrived, and would be exactly as it was when the next thing came. But something had been established that had not existed before that morning. He had stepped toward my river. He had calculated that Zeus's name carried him past the border of my authority without asking. And I had answered that calculation the only way a king can answer it, which is to say, with the border itself. They thought the story ended at my border. It began there,